As a child and a teenager, what language did you speak at home?
English.
How did you learn Ukrainian?
I was actually working for the Ukrainian Studies Fund that was located at the Ukrainian Research Institute at Harvard, and at that point I was getting a larger and larger circle of Ukrainian friends, and I would be the reason in some cases people would switch to English when I come in, and they may not have liked it, and I didn't like it, and then there was an opportunity. The Soviet Union was getting to kind of the last gasps, but I applied to go on a language study fellowship to Ukraine, which actually my father nearly didn't speak to me about, because the only way to go at that point was through this organization, Tovarystvo Ukraina, which was like a communist organization. But then when I got to Ukraine, it was really the Soviet Union was falling apart, and they really didn't have any program for me in Lviv. They basically stuck me in a dorm, a hurtozhitok, and said, fend for yourself. So I knew a professor at Lviv University through my work at Harvard, and he said, well, why don't you go to the faculty, the Slavic languages, maybe you can organize some exchange. So I went there, and they said, well, there is a talented young student. So my joke is always that I'm a better teacher than he is. That was my husband. So he was going to, I would give him English lessons, he would give me Ukrainian lessons. Before that, I took a summer school course, 8-week intensive at Harvard Summer School, and those are really like intensive. You meet every day for hours.
Do you think that your father influenced your Ukrainian identity?
There's no doubt I knew it was important to him. But maybe what resonated with me, and probably with my mother too, she wasn't Ukrainian, but she was always very supportive of his interest that there was this issue of fairness and justice, that Ukraine had, maybe that's where their traditions and kind of intersected. My mom's a very decent, honest person, and I think she just thought it was so unfair, unjust, Ukraine's fate, and so she was very supportive. We as a family were always going to, New Jersey Arts Center would have a festival, and going to concerts and those kinds of things. And there's the resort Suizuka in upstate New York, where we would go for summer camps and a winter holiday. We would go pretty much every year there. It wasn't just going to cultural concerts and that kind of thing, but demonstrations. Free Moros, there was the dissidents. So yeah, I grew up or something like the fundraising for the chairs at Harvard, knowing that these things he considered important.
So at the moment, how close do you feel to Ukrainian Canadian community?
Very, very close. And having lived in New York and Boston, the vibrancy of the Toronto community, I don't think there's anything like it anywhere. Any given week, you can't go to all the Ukrainian related events. You can't even keep up between the business and professionals and the choirs and the church organizations. The academic organizations. Every night nearly there's some activity going on.
What would you like to see different about the Ukrainian Canadian community, if anything?
I think maybe we can do a better job at integrating newer immigrants and giving them a sense of belonging to the same traditions and institutions that already exist. I mean, and they, wave after wave, people come along and create their own institutions, but make people know that we consider them part of a greater community.